Hey there, kids. Folks call me the Curious Fox because I'm curious about stories. Today's story is about an orange named Mr. Tang. Why don't you have a seat and I'll tell you all about it. One day, Mr. Tang, the orange, woke up and discovered that he was blue. He stared at himself in the mirror. He couldn't believe it. I mean, have you ever heard of a blue orange? I haven't. Mr. Tang hadn't either. He went into the kitchen to see if it was just him that turned blue, or if anything else was also transformed. The kettle was still kettle colored, the toaster was still toaster colored, the table and chairs were the color of table and chairs. He sat down on his sofa colored sofa and began to think. What was different about today that he should suddenly go from his healthy orange to this sad, sad blue color? Then he remembered. That's right. It was January the first day of the new year. And as it happened every year, Mr. Tang got the January blues. Well, in that case, he said aloud, I'll just go to bed until February. And up the stairs he went. A little while later, Mr. Tang was woken up by an annoying banging noise. What could it be? He rolled over in bed, hoping it would stop in a few minutes, but it didn't. Without wanting to, he got out of bed and went downstairs. It was somebody at the door. He opened it. Ow. It was his old school friend, Andy the Apple. Yikes, said Andy. What happened to you? Mr. Tang was confused for a moment, and then remembered that he was blue. And this might look a bit strange to his friends. Andy, on the other hand, was as green as always. It's the old January blues, isn't it? Said Mr. Tang sadly. I'm going back to bed until February. I can't go out like this. And he left his friend at the door and went upstairs to bed. Andy left Mr. Tang's house feeling a little upset. He hated it when his old friend got blue like this. It happened every January. And every January, Mr. Tang would go into hibernation until February. Well, not this year. Not if Andy could help it. Andy decided to call in at Mr. Bendy, the Bananas Breakfast Bar, for a cup of freshly squeezed juice, some pancakes, and a chat. Mr. Bendy, an old friend, was always good for a pair of ears in the time of crisis. Mr. Bendy was frying up a fresh batch of banana pancakes as Andy entered. The smell, as usual, was delicious. Hi there, Mr. B, he cried. Got time for a juice and a chat? Mr. Bendy looked at his watch. It was early still. The first rush wouldn't be here for another 30 minutes or so. Sure thing, Andy, replied the banana. Pull up a stool. What's eating you? It's Mr. Tang. He's blue again, and you know what that means. Mr. Bendy agreed with Andy. The situation was critical. But he had a plan. He went to his banana phone and dialed up all the Beverly Blueberry sisters, friends of his that could be counted on for moments like these. Belle Beverly answered, the youngest of the 5 Blueberry sisters. Hi, Mr. Bendy, she said sleepily. She was still in bed. What's up? Mr. Bendy explained the situation, and Belle agreed to help. She and her 4 sisters, Bee, Beryl, Bindi, and Bunny, jumped straight into action. Back at Mr. Tang's house, the same annoying banging woke Mr. Tang up from a nightmare about fruit salad. He dragged himself out of bed and went downstairs to see who it was. At the door were Andy and Mr. Bendy, all dressed in blue? What? Began Mr. Tang. But before he could finish, the two of them cried, "Surprise!" and jumped aside. Suddenly, there were the 5 Blueberry Sisters, with their arms full of delicious breakfast food. "You're not the only one who gets blue sometimes," said Andy to his friend, and gave him a big hug. "And we've all got blue for you to keep you company." Andy the Apple, he seems like a real sweet guy, even though green Granny Smith apples are supposed to be kinda sour. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.